So I got home with all that happening, and reality set in that I had just signed up for $14,000 a month for the next 3 years on a car with a flashing check engine light, misfires, problems that were supposed to be fixed because they did a tune-up to supposedly fix the misfires, and it wasn't fixed. So a few years ago when I was here at VINwiki last time, I talked about my Lambo deal of a lifetime. In December of 2020, stumbling upon two amazing Lamborghinis, an 89 25th Countach and a 97 Diablo VT Roadster that an eccentric neurosurgeon wanted to sell right away because his passion was no longer supercars, it was tanks, and he was opening a tank museum. He didn't care about this Countach and this Diablo that he owned for a long time, at least 5 or 10 years between the two, and he just wanted a little more than what he had paid for them 5-10 years ago. So I only paid $250,000 for both cars. I say only, but it was every dime that I had at the time. I was shaking myself upside down to write this check, but obviously an amazing, amazing deal. I had both for about 6 months, fixed them all up. The VT Roadster was a lot more needy and it still had more needs, but I still managed to sell just the Diablo for $300,000, which I didn't spend more than $50,000 fixing both of the cars, so that meant I had a free Countach that I enjoyed for the next 4 years. Took it to both coasts, including one Monterey Car Week, where I got to drive it on Laguna Seca in the 50th anniversary of the Countach rally that John Tamarian of Curated put together. And then sort of as its swan song at the Hilton Head Concours, it was shown there on the greens. It was such a cool experience there, but the car was actually sold as it was sitting on the grass. I had made a trade deal for it, and it's all Ed Bollion's fault. So he has bought himself a very nice Bugatti with an interesting history and a roof that comes off, and he had pursued other Bugattis before he settled on this one. And there was one that he had dismissed because the selling dealer, friend of ours, Perrin at Chicago Motor Cars, he was very deep into it because of the reconditioning costs of this Veyron. Really cool spec, the Bugatti Racing Blue with the black interior. Somebody had swapped out the original brown interior for blue, so that was sort of a ding against it. The original owner was also Scott Rothstein of the famous Ponzi scheme in Florida, and then it got sold off in a government auction. That was a long time ago. 12,000 miles, so not too low on the miles, but not too high either. Felt like a car I could enjoy. Ancient tires on it, but nice aftermarket HREs with new tires, so I could drive the car. But the reason why Ed didn't go with the deal and went with his other car is because Perrin was buried in it in a cost perspective, but he was willing to take in trade-ins at a higher value to move along this Veyron that he had a very high cost in with repairs, reconditioning. He bought it and the car wouldn't go into gear, reverse. And they thought it was a bad transmission, so they replaced the transmission, and they realized it wasn't the transmission, it was the shifter. So they spent $100,000 on the transmission, took it out. This is the Bugatti dealer we're talking about that misdiagnosed it. That was only $8,000 for that part. I say only, but oh my God, $8,000 for a shifter. He also did all the servicing, did a tune-up thinking that would fix a misfire and some other stuff. So he was pretty buried into this car, but he really did want my Countach, and he wanted my BMW Z8. So I decided to structure the deal in a lease, similar to Stradman, who publicized his with his Koenigsegg, like a $30,000 a month lease that he can write off. I can write off these lease payments as an expense to make YouTube videos, and then my tax burden is lower. So that was the logical way to say, hey, I'm buying a Bugatti to save taxes. But still, it was a massive loan with massive interest every month. But it's really cool that Premier Financial Services has this available to structure it as a lease. And also, it doesn't report on your credit to where, like, if I want to buy a house or do other things, I don't have the $750,000 car payment on my credit. So bankers, if I want to do any other deal, aren't like, what the heck's going on there? So obviously I'm using some fuzzy car guy math to justify this purchase, but in reality, I've just always wanted a Bugatti Veyron. It is the car of the 2000s. I feel like it's the very first car where pretty much everyone in the world memorized the specs of 250 miles an hour top speed and 1,000 horsepower, 16-cylinder, 4 turbos. And I never imagined that I would be able to own one. And driving it home from Chicago, I was so excited to fly up and actually drive this car home. But there was actually 2 trips, because I made one trip up there when it was still broken, with the shifter out and the interior all taken apart. And I was buying basically a hoopty Bugatti Veyron. So it was so perfect. in the sense of what I do. I was so excited in that sense. And Perrin was doing all the fixing initially to where I get to see the car in this taken apart state, but I didn't have to pay the big service bill. So it really worked out. But the balloon popped pretty quick when I came to collect the car. I drove off, and within 5 minutes, the check engine light came on. And within another few minutes, the low coolant light came on. And I just spent a lot of money on the car. And it was doing the same bings and bongs of a Volkswagen Beetle that was on its last legs. The next day, rather than driving it home, I drove it directly to the Bugatti dealer, and they topped off the coolant. That fixed the coolant light. Because they had the engine in and out twice, it must have had an air pocket and burped. Wasn't leaking, not a big deal there. But the check engine light, they said most likely was the gas cap code. It was the gross evaporative emissions leak. So they needed you to fill it up with gas, keep the gas cap on tight, drive it, see if it comes back. I did that. It came back. I had a little handheld OBD scanner, and it kept coming back. And even worse, when I would fill up, it would have multiple misfires. And it would run like garbage for a little while and then clear up. Really scary. And I'm driving home cross country and also almost hit 2 deer. I'm going 80 miles an hour in the pitch black, and there's a deer right in front of me. And I go to dodge, and there's this deer buddy right next to it in the shoulder. So I had to thread the needle between 2 deer in this Bugatti that's worth more than my whole life that I just bought, and the check engine light's on. So I got home with all that happening, and reality set in that I had just signed up for $14,000 a month for the next 3 years on a car with a flashing check engine light, misfires, problems that were supposed to be fixed because they did a tune-up to supposedly fix the misfires, and it wasn't fixed, and I'm in Kansas, and I'm on my own. So thankfully, I have a mechanic at the Car Wizard, but he said, no, there's no way I'm working on this. And I had to talk him into it a little bit. And he said, okay, I'll look at it, but we cannot leave it in the shop overnight. Nothing that I can't do in a day because my insurance is maxed out on this car. I can't do it. I looked into higher insurance. It's not worth it for me. So you can't park this thing here overnight. It can't sit torn apart. If something we can fix in an afternoon or a day and the part comes in, sure. But otherwise, you're out of luck on the Bugatti service, which is $40,000 a year. You're out of luck on anything else. But he was able to look at the check engine light, and he deduced that it was a very easy problem, a little purge valve, which is basically an emissions thing to where fuel vapors don't just go up into the atmosphere like old cars. So you have like a 60s, 50s car, and in the garage parked, you smell fuel vapors. To fix that, they put in a charcoal canister to capture those gases, and then a purge valve at the right time sends it into the intake, into the engine, and it all stays inside. Well, this purge valve was stuck open. So when I fill up the tank, it sends these fuel vapors into the intake. It floods out the engine, and you have that lumpy misfire and all that stuff, and you have the evaporative emissions codes because the valve is not opening like it's supposed to. And I mentioned the Volkswagen Beetle Jetta, how it was acting like. Well, the fix was a Volkswagen Beetle or Jetta part. Literally $10. And yes, you have to remove the bonnet to get all this stuff off, and it's a bit of a process, but it's right there staring you right in the face. And when we got the part, we took the old one off, and you blow on it. And if it blows like a kazoo, that means it's stuck open. Naturally, it's supposed to be closed unless it has electrical power going to it. But this one blew like a kazoo with no power to it. So it was obviously broken. Now, it's not an exact fit to the Bugatti. It was pretty close. We had to do a little zip tie treatment on a car that I paid that much money for. But we put it in, started the car up, no check engine light, no codes, no nothing, and no more misfires. I filled it up several times since. I've had no issues there. My Bugatti is all sorted out with a $10 purge valve, which was wonderful. Being able to take apart the Bugatti and fix it with that, I mean, amazing YouTube and all the other things I've been able to do with it. Yeah, now I have my dream car, an amazing, amazing machine, but a car payment that's 3 times a mortgage? Worth it.
This month of VINwiki content is brought to you by Bridgestone, and the most exciting news out of Bridgestone is the new release of their Turanza Prestige tire. It is their flagship Grand Touring tire, targeting luxury SUVs, crossovers, and sedans, like a Mercedes S-Class or a BMW X7. And this gives you all the whisper quiet ride that you want in a high-end luxury experience, as well as the wet and dry weather performance that we love from Bridgestone. And you'll get some of the greatest longevity they've ever had on-street tires, 70,000-mile limited warranty. So we love Bridgestone for their sports car and supercar tires in the Potenza range. Of course, the Dueler AT Ascent that I've got on my Porsche Cayenne, I absolutely love. But whatever you're looking to find tires for, Bridgestone has something great. So check them out now at the link in the description below to learn more about the Bridgestone family of tires.